Okay. So now we will discuss about the last task, which is task 8 from people domain, plan and manage communication. Before 2026 or before July 2026, this was a part of process domain. Now this has become a part of people domain, which means the emphasis on sharing the information, emphasis on understanding the people aspect of it would increase, and that is what will be tested in the exam. Right. So in people domain, we are at the last task. It feels good to be on the last of something, right? Finishing is an important skill. Finishing, whether it is finishing the project or finishing the task in people domain, the last one, right? Similar to all the other tasks that we have discussed. Introduction, then we'll discuss what should the project manager do. Then we'll discuss 3 exam scenarios, which will help you in understanding the question and answering the questions. And we'll also discuss mindset, which will help you in answering almost all the questions from this task. So planning and managing communication means ensuring that right people receive the right information in the right format through the right channel at the right time. You see this? I said in the last task also that if you spend some time going through the definitions that are given by textbook, because it takes time to provide the definition, right? You will be able to understand something deeper. Right? As you can see, planning and managing communication is not about planning what information to share, sharing that information and checking whether the information was shared or not. We are talking about right people. We are talking about right information. We are talking about in the right format, through the right channel, and at the right time. All these things are important if you want to manage communication well in the project. Imagine a scenario: you are managing a construction project and you are dealing with people who are working at construction site. Now, because this construction site where construction will happen, because of the safety rule, your team members cannot carry the mobile phone. And you are sending everything on WhatsApp. You are sending everything on email. They will never receive that information. Or maybe they will receive the information once the day is over and they are completely tired. They may see the message, they might not see the message. You may pressurize them to see the message. They'll see it, but they'll not work on it. You may pressurize them to work on it. They'll work on it, but they'll not give their 100%. There is always a loss there, right? So the point is that whenever we are talking about communication, we must understand whom we are sending the information to, what type of information is being sent, how we will send it, how it will be delivered, and when should we deliver it. Right? Right people, right information, right format, right channel at the right time is very, very important. Which means as a project manager, you need to sit with your team. You would have already understood the expectations from them when you would have built the scope. Now what you would do is you would try to focus only on the information, how to share it in the best way possible so that people are able to understand it and apply it in their project. Why is this so important? First of all, because most of the projects fail because of lack of communication. Most of the projects fail because the communication did not happen properly. Right? So this task is almost as important as any other task. And if I may say so, it is more important than any other task. Right? To ensure proper communication is to ensure success in the project. Right? So why do we say that this task is important? Because it creates shared understanding. Whatever one person knows about the project is the same thing the other person also knows about the project. It also supports timely decisions. If I receive the information on time, I'll take decisions on time. If I don't receive the information on time, I will not take the decisions on time. Right? Build trust and transparency. Right? When the right kind of information is shared at the right time, people would understand it well. They would know what is happening in the project. And when there is a transparent communication going around in the project, people trust the project manager. And that trust would ensure that they give 100% in their project. And that's what you want. You cannot force people to give their 100%. It's not possible. Right? You may think that you can punish, you can be strict, you can talk to them, you can shout at them, and then through the fear they'll give you the 100%. They will not. Fear does not unlock 100%. Fear only unlocks bare minimum requirements. Right? So when you have checklists, when you have when you shout at people, when you show your power and get the job done, you're only unlocking the bare minimum that they must do so that you don't shout at them. Bare minimum that they must do so that nobody questions them. If you want that in the project, by all means, we should do that, right? But I don't think nobody wants, I don't think anybody wants that in the project where people are only giving their bare minimum, only doing their checklist work. Right? We want people to give their 100%. We want the people to think about different opportunities. We want to people to think about different ways in which the same thing can happen. Right? We want to grow as a project team. And when the team grows, you grow as a project manager. So the trust factor helps a lot in that. And that will happen when you communicate well. If you don't communicate with people, then it is very difficult. And communicating well does not mean you should have a great English or great language in which you are doing a fantastic vocabulary. Good communication only means this: right people, right information in the right format through right channel at the right time. Nowhere do we say that it should be a fantastic vocabulary or anything. Information shared, yes, of course. The language in which you are talking is important. The grammar and the syntax of it is also important. But much more important is this. Okay. Then, good communication, regular communication prevents misunderstanding in the project. Misunderstandings will reduce the mistakes in the project. Less mistakes means less rework. And it also supports governance and accountability. When the right kind of information is shared, people understand what they're responsible for, people understand what is happening in the project, you will be able to escalate properly, you will be able to build that collective accountability in the project as well. Right? So, communication, is it important? Yes, definitely important. One of the most important things in the project. So, what should the project manager do? Define the communication strategy. Sit with your team and decide how you are going to manage this communication part. Which tools are going to use, which channel are you going to use, what type of information will be shared, to whom it will be shared, how often it will be shared, everything. Build that communication management plan, define that communication strategy. Okay. Then your communication must be tailored to the stakeholders and team members that you are communicating with. Any report that you are sharing up about information, it must be customized according to your teams and stakeholders' needs. Right. As a product manager, you should promote transparency. Right? How would you do that? When you become transparent. When the product manager is transparent, the team looks at the product manager and they see that, okay, product manager has been transparent. The team will also automatically become transparent about what is happening in the project. And team's transparency is very, very important. Many a times it happens that you as a product manager only realize that there was a problem 17 days later because the team was not transparent. If the team had told you about this problem 17 days earlier, nothing would have escalated, nothing would have broken. And you need that type of transparency and collaboration in your project. And this will happen if you are also transparent, if you also collaborate. If you take all the decision yourself, you don't share the information with the team, you hide some information, your team will also hide information. And then it's not a good culture to work in projects. Okay. Similarly, you should also establish feedback loops, right? So it should not happen that the information is shared only one way, right? As we discussed in the previous task also, sender should send the information to receiver and get some feedback as well. That yes, they have understood the information and yes, they'll be able to apply that information. That feedback loop is very, very important, right? So what will we do after completing these 8 tasks? I have shared the information to you, right? Now tomorrow we'll discuss. Have you understood the scenarios? We'll discuss some questions, right? We'll have some task-wise questions also. That would be the feedback loop. So yes, I have helped you revise the things. And now I'm just checking whether you have understood and you are able to apply everything that we discussed, question-wise or not, right? So that's why we have tests. You go and you take some tests. What does happen? What happens there? You provide me the feedback. Whatever we have discussed, you have understood or not. And then if you have some doubts, we have this Sunday session that we conduct where you ask the doubts, right? Then communication becomes, I would not say perfect, but very good. Okay, there's no perfect in this world probably, but we move towards that perfection. right? So first the training would happen, information was shared. During the training some tests happened, you understood it. Now we are doing some interventional revision, where during your revision process I'm sharing you some information in a different format. You are understanding that. Then you are going to our platform, taking the task wise tests one by one. So every task you are able to test yourself, which is what feedback loop is. Similar feedback loop should be there in the projects also, because it is way more important there than this. Okay. And then support reporting and governance throughout the project. Right? Whatever type of reporting is needed, whatever type of governance and information sharing is needed as per the organization's policy, you should ensure that. Okay. So that's what you need to do in order to ensure good communication in the project. Now let us see some scenarios. Okay. First one, an important stakeholder claims that a decision, change, or product issue was not communicated effectively. Right? So there's a claim from the stakeholder side. What will you do? Meet with the stakeholder and understand why they are saying so. Understand the gap. Right? Review what they need and update the communication strategy or plan as may be needed. Right? You don't just jump and change the plan just because stakeholder is claiming something. You need to verify this claim by discussion. What should you avoid? Avoid simply forwarding the previous emails, blaming the stakeholder for not reading the reports, and sending more generic information. Any of these things, if you see in the exam choices, you should be critical about it. It will probably be wrong. Right? So if they have not understood anything, right? If they are claiming that a decision or the issue was not communicated effectively and they have not understood it, you cannot just reshare the emails. You cannot say that, okay, this stakeholder does not read the reports. Or you cannot just send generic information. You will have to really understand what that gap is. Review their communication need and then update the strategy or plan accordingly. Right? It's an important stakeholder. You will have to put in the efforts to ensure that they understand information in the project. Second scenario that you might see in the exam, the project has a delay, significant risk or performance problem. It could be any of these three. Right? And the team is concerned that communicating it may upset the sponsor. So the team does not want to communicate about the delay, about a significant risk, about performance domain. They are afraid. This is not the culture that you want in the project. Right? So what should you do? In such cases, communicate the information transparently and promptly through the established reporting and governance process. Right? Whether it is good, whether it is bad, or whether it is ugly information, it must be shared with the stakeholders. Right? And shared not with false commitment. Analyze the thing, understand the impact, and then share the information. Okay? Include the impact, include the analysis, and recommended actions always when you are sharing. Yes, we say that bad news should be shared faster, but that does not mean that you share just the bad news. If you share only that there is a delay in the project, right, they will become frustrated. They'll become fidgety. They'll start escalating everything. Compared to that, if you tell them that there's a delay, there is a possible delay because of XYZ reason. We have worked on it. We have reduced the delay, but still there would be a delay of 2 days. We have worked on it, and in the future, we'll try to compensate on that with analysis, with data, with whatever impact that you have understood. Then it's a good communication. Just telling them that there's a delay is not a good communication. You should analyze, understand the impact, figure out recommended actions, and then communicate. What should you avoid? Hiding the problem, for sure. Never ever hide the problem, and never ever let your team also hide the problem. Work with them, build that environment, build that situation, condition, relationship with them so that they share the problems with you. Delaying communication until a complete solution is available is also not a good communication. Right? You should keep them informed. You cannot leave them in the lurch thinking, okay, something must be happening in the project. You have to keep them informed. You have to keep them continuously engaged. Or changing the report to make the performance appear better. That is also not a good thing. Okay. Many a times we may be guilty of doing that. Not completely changing the report, but sometimes we do embellish the report. Embellish the report means remove something which is not good, or adding something which is better, or presenting the same information in a very polished way so that it looks good. Right? We may be guilty of that, but we should not do that. Being transparent helps much, much better than this short term thing where in the meeting it may be good, but for the long term it is bad. Right? So any option that talks about any of these three, whether hiding the problem, delaying the communication, or embellishing your report, is not a good choice. Be critical about it, compare it with other choices, and select the better choices. Another scenario that you might see: sponsor wants a high level summary. The product team needs detailed actions, and another stakeholder requires formal compliance information, which means there are three different ways of looking for information, three different stakeholders in the project, three different needs. How would you handle it? Tailor the reports, communication formats, and level of detail to each audience. You cannot ignore sponsor for sure, they are paying your salary. Okay, you cannot ignore the team for sure, they are getting the job done. Right? You cannot ignore the stakeholders because they are paying for your company so that the salary can be paid. Right? Just looking at individual thing also, if I want certain help, I need to help others. I need to understand who are these stakeholders, my team members, my sponsor, what type of information do they need, and I would customize my report accordingly. What should I not do? Avoid sending the same detailed report to everyone or communicating only in the product manager's preferred format. I like to share PowerPoint presentation. I don't care what you want. I'll always send PowerPoint presentation. Right? I don't believe in PowerPoint presentation. I believe in people coming to the site and checking the product in their hand, because that's the best way to check the product. And that's why sponsors, management, executive directors, customers, CEO, everybody should come at site if they want any information. That is also wrong. Right? It is not my preference as a product manager. It's what my audience needs. Right? So as a product manager, I'm not here to share my preference of what is it I want. As a product manager, I need to understand what other people want, and my job is to provide that. That's the role that I have selected. That's the responsibility that I have selected as a product manager. And in everything, communication, reports, knowledge sharing, discussions, whatever it is there, it must be tailored to the audience rather than to my preference. So any option that says that you are sending the same thing to everybody without tailoring is not good. Or any option that says you are doing things according to your preference is also not a good thing. It's not your preference, it's the project's benefit. It's not your preference, it's the stakeholders' expectations that you have to meet. Okay, so your role, your job, your responsibility is to customize things according to the needs of the stakeholders. Rather than saying that I'll send in the same format. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't want to read it, thank you. Right? We cannot do that, so we should not do that. Now let's talk about the mindset. Okay. Communication is two-way. As we discussed, sender sends the information to receiver, take a feedback whether they have understood it or not. Tailor communication to the audience, very, very important. Definitely will be tested in the exam. Communicate bad news transparently. A good news also transparently, but the special focus on bad news. Follow established reporting and governance process. Understand what your organization's policies are and follow that. Do not miss on that. Review communication effectiveness also. Take this feedback and see whether whatever information was shared is effective or not. Okay. If you keep these things in mind, it will help you in answering the questions in the exam. Okay. Now this covers the task number 8 from people domain, which means we have covered the entire people domain. What should we do next? Now this discussion has taken around 7 to 10 days. Okay, over the last 7 to 10 days, we have covered all these 8 tasks. So what you should do is, you should try to review all the mindset points discussed. Right? When you see the recordings on our YouTube channel, you get to download all the PDFs. Right? Those who have joined us and you have are there in the WhatsApp, I'll combine all the PDF and share with you. Try to review all the mindset points once. If you want, you can keep a record of it as well. We have discussed 8 tasks, and in every task we discussed 5 mindset points. So there are 40 mindset points to go through. Yes, these are task wise. There would be a consolidation as well, which means you can combine some 2-3 points together and you can create your own list of 15-20 points. Right? So try to understand this. We will have one session where we'll discuss only the mindset. Right? Then attempt the question from these two tasks first, 7 and 8 on our platform. First finish those tasks and then try to attempt some question domain wise as well. We'll provide you that opportunity and we'll start discussing questions also so that you are able to verify whatever you have learned, you are able to apply it or not. Right? And more important than anything else, maintain your own note of important points for the exam. Because when it is 2 days, 3 days to your exam, nothing else will be more helpful than your personalized notes. Because this is what you felt is important. Right? So far, what I have discussed is what I feel that it is important. When you create a note, you feel what is important for you. And when you review that a day before your exam, it helps a lot. Right? So, of course, the mindset points will be discussed for all the domains, and those are helpful. Whenever somebody says, what should I go through? I always send them these mindset videos, which helps a lot in preparing for the exam. But your notes cannot be replaced. So, please try to maintain your own notes of whatever lessons that you learned and go through it regularly and also last day before the exam. Okay, so we have covered 33% of the exam. The next discussion would be on process domain, which is 41%. And after that, we'll discuss the business environment domain, which is 26%. Right? We'll also be starting to discuss the question and answers so that it is not just one-way communication. We have discussions from your side as well. This discussion was important. This covering of revision of new tasks, the way tasks are there, how this task will be there, was important for revision, and hence we covered that. Now we will start discussing the question and answer. I'll share you the plan, how we are going to do that, and we'll move to the process and business domain as well. Okay. Any questions, anyone? Anything in mind? So my suggestion would be, we have completed people domain, strengthen it well. Be absolutely confident that yes, I am done with people domain. I will be able to answer almost all the questions in the people domain. Okay. Do it this week. And then from next week onwards, focus on process first. So next week process, after that, business environment. That way you will be ready for the exam. Okay. If there are no questions, then thank you so much for your time, for taking out time. I know that all of you are working and taking out some time out of the work or immediately after the work. So thank you so much for your time. I will see you on, I will be seeing you on Friday at 7:30, where we will discuss how to use ChatGPT or any other AI tool that you are using for your exam prep. Right? I'll send these details, and then next week we'll discuss about process and business environment. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Vijay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.